You're listening to
The Classroom Collaborative
podcast with your hosts, Dee Dee Wills,
Ed Ross, and Adam Peterson.
Here we go.
We're so glad you're here.
Let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am Adam Peterson.
Hi, I'm Dee Dee Wills.
We are so excited you are here. Dee Dee, how are you out in Colorado?
I am good. Do you see how I tried to make my name longer than it actually was?
I like that. Dee Dee Wills.
I know. Peterson's because that takes up a lot of voice there. And Wills, I had to make it really long.
I should stop always saying my name first. Like I should let you go first.
That's our ebb and flow. If you do that, I won't know what to do. If you don't do that, I won't know what to do.
You're like, wait, what's my name?
Yeah, but what are we doing now?
So it is, as you are all listening to this, it is the month of May is here. It's crazy to think that it's Monday. What is it? May 3rd? Is that right? May 3rd? Yeah. So we are in the final stretch of the 2021 school year.
That's with a quakering voice.
I'll tell you what, I've never been a teacher who, and you can be mad at me for saying this if you want to, teachers, but I have always been a teacher who is, I actually like pushed some buttons the wrong way with some teachers in my building one year when I put a video out that said I started a hashtag called Take Down the Countdown, and I was kind of fighting for the fact that there are some kids in your room who are not counting down the days to summer because you are their person, right? And yeah, that video didn't go over so well with some teachers, but some people are like, of course they agree, like why we can celebrate it ourselves. Just I'm always I always push like, don't make that like you're celebrating the fact that school is over. And there have been some teachers who have said like, hey, you know what? We celebrate everything we've learned. I'm like, that's great. Do that. Like, don't just say, I can't wait until you guys are gone. You know, like, although this year, I think everybody's.
Yeah. I can't wait to hang up this telephone conversation that's been going on forever, right?
And most likely students included this year, right? Like they're like, we're so done.
Right.
So yeah, it's the final month for most people. I know some people go into June, depending on where you are. But, today, May 3rd starts, well, when you're listening to this, starts, what I, call Yellow Week. And I know if you've listened to our podcast for any amount of time, you've heard us talk about this before. If you followed me or Dee Dee, because she's so great about sharing it too on social media, you know about my Yellow Day program and my Yellow Day idea, that all stemmed from, the influence of my mentor teacher. Her name was Honor Trotter. And, kind of started with a book that I wrote about her back in 2014, I think, 2013. I don't even remember now. It's been so long, about her legacy at our school that started spreading thanks to YouTube. So I don't want to bore you with all the details of that. You can head to my YouTube channel, Adam Peterson Education on YouTube, or just go to teacherslearn2.com and just search Yellow Day. You can find all the videos that we use to talk about it. But what we wanted to talk about today was the steps that you can take starting today and throughout this week to gear up for Yellow Day 2021, which actually falls on Mother's Day. So what better way to celebrate mom than spreading kindness to her and making her day brighter? Honor was an amazing mother, and her two sons are very passionate about spreading Yellow Day still now that she's gone. But we thought we'd record a quick episode, just kind of walking you through the Yellow Day week that we started last year.
Yay.
So there is a free product on Teachers Pay Teachers. If you just search my name at it, or we can link it in the show notes as well, but just search Adam Peterson Education Yellow on TPT and you will find a free product. There's an English version and a Spanish version, thanks to some very good friends of mine who train. Yeah. I had some teachers reach out last year that said, hey, do you mind if we take this and translate it into Spanish? And I'm like, I don't mind at all. Like, it's a free product. And they did it and sent it back to me. And God, I don't know. They could have totally thrown me under the bus. I trust them enough as followers that I think they're great. I'm totally joking.
You're like, I have no idea what it really says, but I
have no idea what it says.
Yeah. That's awesome.
I've never gotten a negative comment on TPT, so hopefully it's good. Yeah. So the first step for all of you to start this is I want you to head to YouTube and just type in Be the Yellow Adam Peterson. And you're going to find my TEDx talk that I gave in 2019 about this whole idea. So there's a TED talk that you can watch as a teacher today, but also today is the day, Monday, that I'm encouraging teachers to share that TED talk with their classes because it is kid friendly. It's 100% kid friendly TED talk that you can share. I've had kindergarten teachers say they've shared their classes just as an idea to start this wave of how can we make today and every day thereafter as bright as possible for those around us. And that's the whole idea of yellow and the hashtag be the yellow. How can we be the yellow, be the sunshine, be the brightness that people need in their lives every single day? So yellow is broken down in that TED Talk into a 6-step acronym, YELLOW. And starting today is what we call You Day. So Y stands for you. And you, this idea is kind of like a self-reflection day, and to get your kids to think about, maybe just through brainstorming or making a list, what they can do, what you as children can do, and you as teachers and us as human beings can do as a first step to just, how can we do this? What can you do to make today brighter for somebody else?
Right.
And I know we've talked about that quite a bit on here, Dee Dee, little steps that teachers could take, little steps that students could take, little steps that we as human beings could do.
Right. Right. I know there's, sometimes we just get into our, lane, I guess, and go into autopilot going through our days. I know I always think about how like you can, if you drive a familiar route, you can get in the car and then all of a sudden realize you're there and you didn't really experience the trip along the way, cause you just go into autopilot.
Right.
And I think a lot of us, from time to time fall into that. I know I do, at least, that I get in my zone of being and don't really venture out, don't change lanes at all. And so this week is really about, the Yellow Week is really thinking about looking around and what can you do to, make that journey for yourself, because it always comes back tenfold for you when you do kindness for others, right?
Mm-hmm.
But how can you participate in the lives of others, of strangers, maybe even in a positive way?
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because that leads to the next day. So the first step, like we said, is you. And in the pack that is free, like I mentioned, there's checklists in there for your students to check off things that they did. There's like an idea list. So try this today, try that today, and they can check off what they do. There's a page after every single day section for them to write a letter to a family member or a friend. So there's a bunch of stuff in here for you to use with your students. And like Dee Dee mentioned, how can we step out of our lane and help others? And that leads to day 2. So Tuesday of this Yellow Week is called Engage Day. So the second step of my acronym in yellow is engage. And the whole idea behind this started with what Dee Dee just mentioned, of me trying to, and really kind of inadvertently, step out of my lane and brighten someone else's day. And I tell the story in the TED Talk, but it's one that I tell to everyone. It was a time I was going through Chicago Midway Airport, getting ready to travel, work with teachers. And I joke that we all know airports are like the least yellow places, right? Like yeah. Everybody's just head down, trying to get from here to there, here to there, here to there, rushing to do whatever. And I'll never forget this interaction. And I wish I would have gotten the lady's name, but I was going through security, and the agent, like she's doing her routine of just checking IDs, stamping tickets, checking right. IDs, like just that mundane everyday act. Yeah. And she took my stuff and she said, "How's it going?" I said, "I'm great. How are you doing today?" And she froze. Like there's this line of people behind me, and she froze and she just smiled and she goes, "I'm doing much better now. Thank you." And I was like, has nobody asked her? Like yeah. All this time that she's going, "How are you?" Has nobody asked her how she's doing today? And that was it. We engaged in that simple little conversation. And I saw her smile, and I know, like, I get chills still telling the story 2 years later. Like, it was one of those moments that I'm like, God, like that was the most basic thing I could have done, just to ask her how her day was, right? So the talk goes into more detail about that, about how simple little engagement, right? Like, if you're going to take the time to say hi to someone, then engage in a conversation with them. Like, right. Don't just make it a hey.
Look them in the eye.
Right.
I've been through the airport with Adam before.
I've been through the airport with Dee Dee before.
We are like, the Odd Couple. Dun, 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 dun. Here's Adam. He's like, "Hello, everybody." He's like, "Mr. Friendly. Hello, I love everybody." And I'm like, "I hate everybody." So we were like,
I will never forget the time we spent in Nashville airport together, you and I, when we got delayed and delayed and delayed. And I think we were there like 8 hours. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I remember there was this one man who was talking on his phone so loud, and I had headphones in, but I had my music, and Dee Dee had headphones in, but she's just like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up."
We don't want to hear your conversation.
So we were like, I think that's when you said, let's go get a massage, but the massage place was closed. And then you're like, let's just go get a drink.
Yeah. And then the bartender didn't know anything about anything.
He didn't know what a mule was, I think is what it was.
Didn't know what a mule was. Like, okay, come on now. Come on. I'm on an edge.
Oh man, it's good. But yeah, so that's day 2. Like try to encourage your students. And again, there's a checklist in there. Like the items on that one say, so when I wrote this whole unit and put this together, it was last year when we weren't in school for Yellow Week. So I put something out like, how can we make Yellow Week happen at home? So a lot of it is, talk to a family member, call a friend, things that you could have done virtually from home, which you still could. Right. But just think of ways you can do it. And then there's a drawing page for the kids too. For your little ones, they can write about it or draw that just says, draw or write a story about a conversation that you had today. And it's simple as that. Like, who is someone you talked to today, whether in school or after school or maybe last night? So again, checklist and letter writing ideas. And then that leads to Wednesday, which is the first L in our acronym that stands for listen. And I always tell people, if you're going to take the attempt to say hi and you're going to engage in a conversation with someone, then do the most possible positive thing you can do and just listen, right? Like we are all so focused on what we have to do next and who we have to see next and what we have to say that we don't listen near enough. And I know that I am guilty of this big time. Like we are also attached to these little devices, right? that we don't listen enough. So that whole day, Wednesday, is a big challenge about just who can you listen to? What can you start a conversation and just listen to someone talk? Don't just ask them how their day is going and move on. Listen to what they have to say. And as teachers, I know I was guilty. Like we could do that more often. There's not enough hours in the day to listen to everything a child has to say about what their brother's cousin did over the weekend. But sometimes our kids just need us to listen. They do.
True.
It's a tough thing to remember, but we do. And one of my favorite things in the pack for that day is just, there's a coloring page with a bunch of little hearts on there. And I got to give a shout out to our friend, Nikki from Melonheads Illustrating. She put together some awesome graphics for me that she let me use in this pack. But there's a page that just says it's full of hearts, and it says color a yellow heart each time you listened like intently to someone today. So the kids just have to reflect on, did I listen to what my friend had said? Did I listen to what my teacher had to say? And then I think I love all the steps of this, but the next step, Thursday, is one of my favorite ones, and it's called Learn Day. And I always tell people, like, if we're going to take the time to listen to someone talk, then learn something about them. Just learn something about what people have to say. So on Learn Day, the challenge is to try to learn something new about a friend. And I know we're in May, but there is so much that we can learn from the people around us. So we're encouraging our students to try to learn something about a friend in their class, try to learn something about their teacher that they might not know, try to learn something about a neighbor that maybe they don't know, try to learn something about a teacher that they don't interact with every single day. So the idea is just listen to people and try to learn something about their lives.
I know that you're only gotten to yell, right?
Right.
Yell. But these are lifelong skills, right? That are not just that people of all walks of life would benefit from. But if we can teach our youths about it, right? Wow, what a change we might be able to see. Anyhow, keep going.
I'm glad you say it. It's those of you, I think we talked about my TED Talk last year around this time on the podcast, but if you hadn't listened to the episode, the whole idea for this acronym kind of came from Dee Dee. And I don't know if you remember our conversation about this, but I called you after I was doing I told you, I think, that I got the invitation to be a TEDx speaker, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so exciting. And I think we were talking about Yellow Day and what it meant. And you said to me, I mean, I gave you credit, and you said, well, why does it just have to be May 9th, Adam? Like, why can't we make this last longer? And I was like, that's it. That's what I need to do in this talk. Like, because right at the same time we had that conversation, my coach from TEDx was saying, like, I love the story. I love what you have to say, but not everybody can relate to honor, because my whole initial, like, first draft of my talk was about honor in our relationship.
Right.
And Lily, my coach, who was an amazing coach, was like, this needs to be something people can take and walk out of the auditorium and put into effect, right? Like, it can't just be a story. It has to be a plan.
Right.
And I was like, that's what Dee Dee just said too. Like, so that's really where it came from. The acronym was how can we make this last over and over and over again, no matter what stage of life you are in. And the idea for Listen and Learn, was sparked by actually one of my favorite movies, by actually one of my favorite bands put together this movie that was like kind of like a music and arts kind of based film. The film was it's called Love. That's the title of the movie. And it's about communication and humanity. And there's a line in the movie where one of the characters says, if everybody just stopped talking, stopped communicating, I think it'd be a terrible world to live in. And I'm like, that's so true. Like, could you imagine if we didn't do this kind of stuff every day without the challenge to do it during this week? But like, what if we just kept this going all the time? So yeah, Learn Day 4 is about learning as much as you can about the people in your lives. And a lot of that has to, we're stuck at home. Some of us are still stuck at home all the time. Some of us are choosing to be at home this year. Last year it was about, let's learn about our family members, right? Like we are at the start of a quarantine in 2020 when I wrote this. And it was the whole idea was learn as much about the people you are quarantined inside with. But now that we're back in classrooms, we're on the playground, we're out in public, let's learn about our friends, not just that what their name is and what their favorite color is and they like to play baseball. Like, what can you truly learn about someone in your life that you might not know? So, like, I learned a lot about Dee Dee at the airport that day, right?
What you learned was, in a crisis, Dee Dee is not your girl.
Totally kidding.
Dee Dee her heart turns black in a crisis, right?
Stop.
I wanted to interject this, and I don't remember if I ever told you this, but one of the activities that I had growing up way back in the day, in sixth grade, one of our projects was an oral history project that we did. And so we were connected with people in the senior community. Mm-hmm. And we would go and run interviews with them. So we would go and ask them questions about, some of it was about history, because I'm telling you, this was a long time ago. These are people who, had reached adulthood, during World War II, cause these were people who were 70, 80 years old. And I'm going to say this is mid 70s probably when this happened. Mm-hmm. So these were people who, were part of World War II. Some of them were flappers, way back. I mean, they were really, so, oh, here comes Harriet.
Harriet's like, what'd you say?
I know, flappers.
Little tail wagging.
So, but what I remember, and then we asked them questions of like, well, what did you like to do, on Sunday and Saturday? Like, what was your day-to-day life was? And I remember first of all, being fascinated about how different things were, but also how alike things were as well. But I also remember the people that we interviewed, the joy that they got from that moment of one being with, 12-year-olds who were interested in their lives, and they were talking about things that maybe they hadn't talked about in a long time. So, and obviously these are people who signed up, knew that we were going to be asking about history. So, some people that would be traumatizing for them or whatever, but, not whatever, but they would have not chosen to participate in that exercise.
Right.
But just that interacting with people that maybe you don't normally interact with, and asking them questions and you doing most of the listening versus what I'm doing right now, all the talking. So
no, I've talked this entire episode.
I just remember that being a amazing, exercise. And some people, this may be in your suggested activities, but some people have a senior center or something that, where they have active adults, active seniors who go in and meet, do cards or something where they could gather those people together and, maybe kindergarten, first grade, second grade, they could do some really quick interviews to talk to them and just practice that listening as well.
That's not in the pack, but what a great idea. Can you imagine the stories that are yet to be told from people, right?
I know.
Who just haven't had the chance to express it. Right. I remember seeing the amazingly talented Kim Bearden from Ron Clark Academy.
Yeah.
She was posting on Instagram a couple years ago. Her dad was this is before he passed away, but her dad was sick, and they kind of knew that his time was coming. And she hired a videographer friend of hers and set up this, I mean, really nice, like, scene in their house. And I don't know if it was weekly or how they did it, but they started recording him just telling stories of his life. And like, to have those
Yeah.
videos, right? Like, so we've
Yeah.
been saying that Trisha's grandma is 91. Like, we're like, all right, we need to do something like that. Like stories are great and pictures tell a story, but like, I can only imagine how much joy Kim gets out of sitting down and watching those videos of her dad. It was just telling his life story, you know? And
Right.
some of the things you learn, like, oh my gosh, hearing Trisha's grandma, who's 91, talk about some things that they had to go through, that she did when she was a little kid. And she tells stories to my kids about that. Like, well, when I was little, and I'm like fascinated to think, like, really? That was
Yeah.
that long ago? Like,
Well, and also, you think about, your children
mm-hmm.
who will have, some great memories of of this generation.
Right.
But those memories fade over time, right?
Yeah.
I remember my dad was, my parents are still well, but my dad was telling a story that I hadn't heard him tell in a long time. And as he was telling, I'm like, oh my gosh, I totally forgotten this story.
Right.
And then to hear it again, was one that, would be great for me to hold on, let me get this recorded for Matt, because, Matt may not have heard that, it's losing that connection to the past.
Mm-hmm.
But also giving value to the people in your lives, that their stories are worth remembering.
Right. Yeah. My, Olivia was actually filling out, she just got an invitation to be, like an invite to fill out to become a member of National Junior Honor Society. Like, we were so proud that she got it. So like, she got the invitation and she has to turn it back in, and then she finds out if she gets accepted or whatnot. But, one of the parts of it was like filling out times you've done service hours. And she hasn't really, I mean, there hasn't been like an official service hours thing until you get to 8th grade. So she's in 7th grade right now. But one of the things she remembers was 2 years ago, before my grandpa passed away. My parents always do something in the summer called cousin camp, where all the 5 grandkids on my parents' side meet up at my mom and dad's house for a week, and they just do they do more than I ever did as a kid. Like, they take them to amusement parks, they went to a NASCAR race, and they do all these amazing things, and I love it. Like, love to see the memories they're creating through cousin camp. But one of the things they did 2 years ago, and my grandpa was getting really bad. He had dementia and was getting worse. They took, like, they made lemonade and cookies and treats, and they went to his nursing home, and in his wing of the nursing home, like the dementia Alzheimer wing, they went and played games and passed out treats. They, my Olivia, my daughter, and our niece Lily, did all the old lady's hair and makeup and did their nails and like put on like a spa day for them. And Olivia, it's been 2 years ago now, and that was one of the things she put down on her service page. She's like, Dad, remember when I went to the nursing home and helped Papa Jim and all his friends just have fun that day? I'm like, you need to put that like at the top of your list. Like, that was something you guys just did for fun. It wasn't any kind of, there was no monetary, like, they weren't getting paid, like, it was just,
Right.
I'm like, yeah, put that on your list for sure. And I'm sure she saw things and heard stories that she'll have to tell the rest of her life. Because let me tell you straight, if you've never visited a dementia wing of a nursing home, it's quite the place to visit.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks they're your relative, and everybody thinks they're your best friend. And oh my gosh, it was as sad as it was. We all still chuckle about my grandpa and the things that he'd, I mean, it sounds terrible, but you had to at that time, like the things he'd forget, or the things that, the stories he would try to tell. It was amazing though, what he would remember his time in the Navy, and he remembered my grandma. He'd vaguely remember my dad, but other than that, he would look at the rest of his life.
Yeah, those long-term memories are ones that they'd be able to pull up. And I was thinking about also within your building, your school building. So teachers who are thinking about, if they're thinking, well, I'd like to do an oral history kind of activity like I talked about, but it's, we can't really obviously go and visit those places right now, but we had a custodian who was nearing his retirement age.
Yeah.
We had some cooks that were, had been in, one, they had gone to school in the building. back when, so it had been, when I first started teaching in that building, it was 100, it was almost 90, it was 99 years old when we moved to our new building. So there'd been people whose families had been going to that school.
Yeah.
So those were all,
Harriet wants to be on the podcast today, I think.
She does. She's got something to say. She's got something to say. But I mean, those would be great sources, some of your support staff that you could talk to, your groundskeepers, the people who are there and you see every day, but you may not interact with every day.
Right.
Those would be some great people to have come in, and talk about, what was it like when you were in kindergarten? What was it like when you were in first grade? What did you like to play on the playground? Some of those questions, I don't know. I just think maybe, what did you bring to lunch? Those are questions
awesome.
that I think kindergarten could maybe, connect with.
Yeah.
Or first grade could connect, second grade, whatever grade level. But that early, most of our listeners are primary teachers anyhow, but that would be something that they could really connect with.
I think even too, sharing as yourself as a teacher. If you're a teacher that's listening to this and you're not a first year teacher, but you've been there for any number of years, really, you think about the things that have changed in your classroom over the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years that you've been teaching. And I can think, like my classroom looked so different when I first started teaching to the time that I left it, 13 years later. To just share with your little kindergartners or first graders, like how you have changed over the years of teaching, and show them some pictures. Like, look what this room used to look like. There's so much we can learn about those around us, and it doesn't have to be this big long process. Like you said, Dee Dee, it could just be asking simple questions, and that just follows the steps of all of this. But like I said, that's one of my favorite parts, is the learn part, because you learn so much about people when you just listen. Sometimes.
Well, we've only gotten to the yell, so we need the O part of it.
We need the O and the W. Yeah. So Friday, to cap off the school week portion of this, day 5, Friday is the O, and it stands for offer. And this whole idea is just to offer compliments and kindness to people throughout the entire day. And it can be, your basic compliments of, hey, you look great today. I love your shirt. Those are great shoes. But what we're really trying to push home to our young learners and people of all ages is offering sincere compliments, not just the superficial. Yeah, but talk about how we've, like what you've noticed someone doing, like the progress you've seen a friend make, or if a friend had a really great game over the weekend, talk to them about that. Talk to people and offer compliments about the type of person that they are or their character, rather than just the visual appearance that we see. With some of us, maybe your students are still virtual. So offering not just compliments, but offering help, trying to encourage, especially with Mother's Day coming up, like offering help to mom, offering to do something that mom typically does, offer to help around the house without mom asking you to help around the house, Right. And the whole day of this O day, offer day, is to just push that. Like, what ways can we offer compliments and help in the most sincere form to those around us on a daily basis?
Right.
And that ends out the school week. So then you're going to send home Friday a challenge with your students that is the W of all of this, that is we. And the whole idea behind us making, or us or me making, the last day the word we, kind of goes along with the Yellow Day logo that we have. I know you all can't see this, but on my hat. And if you go to my pages or look at this product, you'll see a logo that says Be the Yellow. And yellow has an arrow pointing from the letter Y to the letter W. And the idea is, yes, you as a person, you as an individual can start all of this. You can say hello to someone. You can engage in a conversation. You can listen. You can learn. You can offer. But if we want to make this spread every single day, like Dee Dee's idea was, and make this spread worldwide, like we've wanted this to happen, then it takes all of us. So the whole last day of Yellow Week is meant to think about ways that we as a human race, ways that we as a human being and society as a species can make this happen forever. So that whole day is about sharing the Yellow Day story with other people, challenging other people to do all the steps of Yellow so far, challenging a neighbor, challenging a friend, challenging whoever to make the Yellow Day story spread. And when I mention worldwide, I was actually just talking with our friend Tara Martin about this yesterday on a podcast, that it's amazing to me how much a simple comment on a social media network can spread, right? Like the reason this has turned into what it has is because I put a video up on YouTube back in 2014, sharing what we did at our school for Yellow Day and how we celebrated my friend Honor's birthday in the brightest way possible. And the first comment on that video was from a teacher in New Zealand, who I'm actually like Facebook friends with now because of it, who said, we're going to try this at our school. And I was like, well, wait a minute, you're halfway around the world. I don't even know you watched my channel. Like, and that was when I was like, holy cow, this could be something. And here we are 7 years later, and it's spread to, I mean, we'll get new numbers this year when it happens, but as of last year, Yellow Day celebrations have popped up in 8 different countries and 35 states within the U.S., where we've seen schools or whole communities celebrating this idea that was started in memory of my friend Honor. So that leads you into May 8th, which is a Saturday. And then May 9th is the official Yellow Day 2021. May 9th was chosen because that is Honor's birthday. That's when we did the first celebration back in 2014. So that leads you to the end of it. And then the entire thing. So on Yellow Day, in that pack, there's a free, so Yellow Day is Mother's Day, May 9th. There's a free, little card that says, you've been yellowed. And it says, I challenge you so we can make the world more yellow, and explains what this all means, has an idea of how to find the video. And what we did last year is we went and got, last year was a little different because we were quarantined. So we just left stuff on people's doors, but Olivia and Landon put together, like little flower baskets with yellow flowers, or we went and got like yellow cookies. We went and got some nothing bundt cakes and had them delivered to people, and we attached that little note to it.
Are they coming to my house?
We will make our trek to Colorado within the week. We'll see.
Okay, that'd be great.
We left those on people's doorsteps with that note that said, you've been yellowed. Now we challenge you so that we can make the world more yellow. So that's something you can send home with your students as a challenge to try on Yellow Day when they actually get to go celebrate this. So there's a bunch of different things in the pack. Like I said, all the steps, all the checklist, letter writing projects, little crafts. And then there's, a page of just little yellow hearts to color and put on your window or put on a neighbor's window with a smiley face on it. The pack has links to everything, the books, the TED Talk. But yeah, start today with your students. Show them the talk on YouTube, Be the Yellow by me, Adam Peterson. And then, like I said, you can get the free pack, download it. It's got the story in there of why we do this. And It's got all the pages you need to tell the story yourself within your own school and classroom.
Perfect. Love it.
Well, I'm excited. Maybe we should release this on Sunday. If you're listening to this, maybe this is going to come out on Sunday so teachers can print this and plan with it. We'll see.
Okay.
But, yeah, thank you for letting me babble, Didi. I love to tell this story.
I love to hear you babble. Your babble is the best.
Thanks. I need a shirt that says that. My babble is the best.
I know. I can rock a babble like nobody else. Hey.
All right.
You guys have a great week.
Yeah. Have fun, everyone. Thanks.
All right. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to the Classroom Collaborative Podcast.
If you are enjoying these episodes, please make sure that you subscribe wherever you are finding them.
And share and rate it so others can find it as well.
We'll see you guys on the next episode. Thanks for listening.
Bye.